David Malpass, former president of the World Bank Group, and Art Laffer, former Reagan economist and co-author of The Trump Economic Miracle. I'll get to Kevin Hassett in 1 second. I just want to hit this economic point. Single entry bookkeeping versus double entry bookkeeping. In other words, looking at the whole picture. Art Laffer, I mean, you've done a lot of forecasting in your time. People have to look at a lot of variables. They just can't focus on one variable like tariffs, for example, and then make a forecast of recession and inflation. Look what else is going on here. And by the way, the tax cuts are going to pass because the budget resolution passed the House last night. The Senate's on board. Now it's just a question of playing out the cards and reconciliation process. So you got tax cuts, you got deregulation, you got liquid gold, and yeah, you got tariffs. So why is there going to be a recession and a big high inflation?
Well, you didn't mention Doge, which is also an extremely positive thing going on.
I should have mentioned Doge. I'll put Doge in.
Is just phenomenal.
We'll put it into the piece. Yes.
It's a great big piece in that. You've also got the negotiations for peace in Europe with Ukraine and Russia. You've got the Middle East. You've got all of these things coming together, and the whole sum picture is really rosy, is really good. And you've been correct all along, Larry. Donald Trump is negotiating, and he is a free trader all the way. Now, he wants to do the 10% tariff, which is not protectionist. It's a revenue raiser to lower income taxes, to lower other taxes, corporate taxes, and that just couldn't be better. The whole package, as you say, a double entry. I go triple, quadruple, quintuple.
Yes.
But if you look at all of these entries, it's really a very positive outlook for the economy. And I just want to see the last deal done, and then I'll just be able to sleep at night. I always worry until it's actually signed. But I think also China's going to come into the deal, and we're going to make a great free trade deal with China and get them to stop being belligerent in the world economy. That's Donald Trump's leverage with China, and it couldn't be better for the U.S. and the world economy.
All right. Well, I don't know about China, but let's go back to Kevin Hassett this morning on Fox and Friends. Hang on 1 second. Here it comes.
But I could tell you that we've already got offers on the table for more than 15 countries. 15 countries. Great. Now, that doesn't mean there's a deal, but it means that you've heard the much larger number for people who call and they want to talk. But there are specific offers on the table. I've been informed from USTR of about 15 countries right now. And so this is moving fast.
So Dave Malpass is moving fast, and I think it's very important. And that's why I say the original reciprocal tariff charges will not come to pass. And I don't think economists should be building them into their forecasts unless they're doing it deliberately because they don't like Donald Trump, which is always possible. But giving it all the benefit of the doubt. The tariff hits are going to be much less than expected. Meanwhile, the tax cuts are probably going to be more. The deregulation is more. Arthur's right. The Doge spending cuts are going to be more. I mean, to me, okay, stuff can happen that we don't know about. You could have a negative quarter someplace. I don't know about that either. But I don't see the case for high inflation and deep recession.
Hi, Larry. Hi, Art. I was a CPA, so I love the double entry point that you're making, Larry. And one of the most important double entries is Art Laffer's Laffer curve, and that's worth a Nobel Prize. It's the point that if you tax something more, you get less of it, and vice versa. You tax less, and you get more of it. That's double entry, and that is what's going on with that House bill. They've joined the Senate in the idea of using the current policy baseline. And that opens the way, I think, for future tax cuts. Maybe not in this bill, but the capital gains tax rate right now in nominal terms is way above the Laffer curve. Larry, two more points. One is on the positive side, double entry, is the industrial policy strengthening that Trump is setting out to do. That's critical for the U.S., but also for the world. And I do want to put in a caution. I didn't like how the bond market was selling off today and the dollar and gold going up. So I think there is a freebie for the U.S. government to say, if we're a strong country, we're going to have a strong and stable dollar. It's going to be the world's reserve currency. That would be confidence building for the world right now.
Yeah, well, you know, markets are volatile. Markets are volatile, and I'm going to just leave it at that. I don't think there's anything big going on. Arthur, on this process of making deals with other countries, I mean, I know there's a certain hopefulness embedded in this, but really, 75 countries ringing the phone. Kevin Hassett said 15 actually put things on the table. I know Trump has to parse through it, and Scott Bessent's going to parse through it also. But it just seems to me you're in a different place than we were a week ago, and that Mr. Trump clearly, unambiguously has his art of the deal cap on, his art of the deal hat on. And Arthur, I think that makes all the difference in the world. And I think that opens up a lot of positive doors for this whole story that maybe we didn't have a week ago. What you think?
I think you're completely right on that. And if you'll remember, Larry, in 2016, when Trump was running for president for the first time, I called Jack Welch and I asked him about Trump. I'd known Trump for a long time, but not well at all, just in passing. And he told me he was the best partner he'd ever had at GE, that they would do business with Donald Trump every day of the week and twice on Sunday. And they've always made money with Donald Trump, that he's the excellent person there. And when I look at Donald Trump, he's now partnering with the United States, not with General Electric. And I think he's going to get these tremendous deals. His personal skills in this area, and they are personal, and he's going to make these deals, Larry. It's not going to be anyone else. And his skills in this area, I am very confident will be extraordinarily good for the United States. And I couldn't be happier and watching this happen. And there's another one in, when you lower those tariffs back down and when you have a broad rate tax, do remember the trade itself is going to expand. So the 1% tax there, right as David was saying, the 1% tax will be on a broader base because there'll be a lot more trade, because we're going to get rid of non-trade barriers and all these other non-revenue raising impediments to trade, and it'll be a much more flourishing world.
Yeah, David, I do think in his heart of hearts that Trump is a free trader. I do think he's in favor of zero tariffs and zero non-tariff barriers. I mean, they may not get that, but I think this kind of push, this kind of deal making, unlike what some of my pure free trade friends are saying, I think you will get freer trade as a result of this. In fact, I would say, even going back to last week, markets were obviously sinking fast and everybody was worried about it. Nonetheless, the kind of shock therapy that Trump used, what happened? 75 countries called him and said, we want to make a deal. I mean, in some sense, it absolutely worked. It's a point we made last night, and I want to make shock therapy. Maybe what cost? Well, markets running around. But the fact is, nobody's calling China today. Xi Jinping's the loneliest guy on the planet because he's been completely outfoxed. We're going to talk about that with Wilbur Ross in a couple minutes. But I'm just saying, what Trump did really was the art of the deal, and he's now managing the deal and so forth in his own way. But it's hard to quarrel with that, don't you think? I mean, it's really, it's going to wind up being a big plus. That's what I think. It's going to wind up being freer trade, more open economies. I don't know about China and so forth, but for most of the world.
That's right. And accentuate the positive. The U.S. is leading the world and toward freer trade that will be better for the U.S. and I think better for the world. I think there's a chance to push back faster and harder on globalism. That's in my mind going too slowly. Vietnam stepped up and said, we want to negotiate on more open markets. I think if the Laffer curve became part of the IMF policies, that would give the world some hope that they could grow along with the United States. So I'm just saying, as part of the global deal, to show everybody that this is a win-win, this helps the world be stable and strong growing, and that's possible right now, and it was talked about at the cabinet today.
Yes, absolutely, 100%. It's just so interesting, the Vietnam story is tragic, but it's wonderful, okay? All those years we fought, all blood and treasure that was lost, American boys there, my goodness. But here they are. They're nominally a communist country. They do not like China. They like America, and they want to do business with us. I think they were the very first country to call Trump. I just think that's a remarkable story. More to be revealed, I gather. But really, the Vietnam thing, in many ways, is symbolic of what can be done in this great world of ours. Anyway, we got to jump. Art Laffer, Dave Malpass, thank you ever so much.